It's time to downsize. You're looking to relocate. California's too much. You're going to Florida. Today, the Retirement Spy talks with Madeline Hughes to talk about the intricacies of downsizing and relocating for retirees. They're going to explore the meaning of downsizing, the key considerations for relocation, and the role of buyer agents in helping navigate the real estate market. Conversation's also going to talk about preparing homes for sale and understanding what fixture stays in the home and what doesn't stay in the home. Join us for this episode of The Retirement Spy. Welcome to The Retirement Spy, where we share experiences in a collaborative platform for those entering phase 2 of life and are ready to embrace this chapter with a sense of gusto and an attitude of carpe diem. You can find out more about us at www.theretirementspy.com or send us ideas and topics to info@theretirementspy.com. Today, we're excited to talk about the secrets behind downsizing in phase 2 and relocation possibilities as we head into our retirement phase. We're joined today with Madeline Hughes, who is a seasoned real estate professional from Dickinson Mitchner in Charlotte, North Carolina, and is one of my beautiful nieces. We're so happy to have her today. Our audience are retirees or soon-to-be retired people who are going to have some big transitions in their life, Madeline. The biggest commonality is most of them own a home or two. Tell me a little bit about some tips. We're going to be talking about tips today, but let me start off by saying a lot of our people want to downsize. That's the first thing they think of when they're empty nesters and they want to have a change in life. What does downsizing really mean in the real estate world?
And, a lot of people of all ages downsize to not even just retirees. I currently have a client who her kids are in college. One's about to graduate and isn't going to probably be coming back to Charlotte. And they have a huge house from raising boys and they want something smaller themselves. So really downsizing ultimately is just going from something smaller, from larger to smaller. And it could be as simple as just a smaller house. You could do a townhome. You could do a condo. You could move to a 55 plus neighborhood, which has like patio homes and HOA that does all your yard work for you. The options are endless.
It's funny. I hear friends of mine who are saying, we're going to downsize in place. And I will tell you, the funniest story is most of my friends who are looking to downsize actually end up getting something bigger.
Yeah.
Two things. One is they can't bear to get rid of the things they've accumulated all their lives. Forget about many warehouses. But they're saying, well, we got the grandkids and we have to have room when they come back for Christmas. And I'm laughing with them saying, well, you can keep the house, or actually I've had people who've gotten bigger houses for the 2 times a year that the kids come with grandkids at Christmas and in Easter. And if for the same price, you could have an entire floor of the Ritz-Carlton for them.
I don't know if you knew, this is exactly what Debbie and Richard, my in-laws, did when they moved from Clemens, North Carolina to Charlotte. Their house is bigger than any of their kids' houses.
So let's talk about, let me talk about some things when let's say you are downsizing, and downsizing does mean a relocation, and somebody's coming to you and say, Madeline, I've got to downsize and we're going to move. What are some of the things when they're considering a downsize? The first thing I think about clearly in the retirement years is the size of your relocation. What size do you really need? Because you don't have 3 kids anymore, 4 kids or whatever it is. What are some of the other things when they're coming to you saying, what do I need to think about as I make this transition?
I think really depends if they're relocating within the same city or moving to be closer to kids. I would say proximity to children needs to be a higher priority. There, you have, of course, some people like, I don't want my parents too close. I don't want them able to pop by. But then you need to think about as they get older and they need help, or just even if they're still in great health, but say they have like a hip procedure or a knee procedure and you're going to help out for a little bit. You don't want to be a 30-minute drive or 45 minutes in traffic trying to help. So I think proximity to family is important. That's usually what I tell.
It's huge. I think I did a survey of the kids and said, your in-laws are going to be closer. How far do you want them? And if you interviewed my contemporaries to say, hey, we're going to move next to the kids, they'd say, well, we're going to be right next door to the kids. And I think the kids would say, you know what? Maybe a half an hour away, maybe better so you can't pop in all the time.
I know. And I know like we wish Debbie was closer. I'm like, it's 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's better than 2 hours.
But it gives you the distance and the privacy is I think where I'm trying to get with the interview. It gives privacy to the kids. And that's kind of hard to tell our contemporaries to say, you need to be maybe a little bit further away.
You don't need to be right next door.
Yeah, no question. Another thing is I talk to my contemporaries and they're smarter than I am. They're looking for single story now. And single story can be on the 3rd floor of a condo like our Aunt Diana, or it can be just a single story house because, getting down up and down steps, not now, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, may be an issue.
Yes, we see a lot of that, or even being open to a 1.5 story where the primary is on the main level and upstairs is really just one other bedroom or a playroom bonus office space. And they can think of that for their visitors and their family that come. They definitely, you don't want to buy something later in life for it not to work long term. I try and think about it like, okay, you might be here for another 15, 20 years. So don't think you don't want to move again in 5 years because you built a 2-story house or you're in a 2-story house and you can't go upstairs every day anymore.
And I say this is the last move. It's not. I think if my wife, your favorite Aunt Kristen, were to have her plan, we would have 2 more moves before we kick the bucket, which would, if
Which
we
is
ever
funny
move
because y'all
again.
haven't moved in so long.
Well, and so I think that's a good question. One would say, okay, we want to have that downsizing single story experience. And I think if my wife had her way, we might be going to a high rise or a retirement community sooner than later. But those are always personal decisions. So I think we probably have 2 moves left in us. And that's always something to think about as we realistically think about retirement. And I think everybody would like to be able to mise in place, so to speak, but might not have the ability to do so. And we might have to go to the next location, so to speak. So having those things in consideration is really important.
Hmm. And I
You know,
think,
Go ahead,
no,
please.
go ahead.
Well, I was thinking
No,
medical
just thinking
community.
about that. Yeah.
Tell me, let's talk about that.
About going to more than one place.
No, I think about the medical community. As we're aging, I'll share a story. My first boss was about to hit retirement when I was young and learning from him. And I remember he was so excited when he was 50. He had bought this acreage on top of a mountain that had the most beautiful, pristine views. And he was so excited. And Stuart was hitting in his 60s. And I said, Stuart, is it time to build the mountain house? He goes, no, we're going to sell it. And I said, it's beautiful. You're gorgeous. You bought this 10, 12 years ago. What's going on? He says, at best, it's an hour drive to the nearest hospital. And if I had to be med-vec'd out, I'd probably be dead before I'd make it to the hospital. So
Yeah.
it's simple things from the townhome. How far is your townhome from the hospital to, if you're moving to a second home at the beach or the mountains, what I hear is medical is more important than ever. Really understanding
Yeah.
what's around you,
If
cardiovascular.
you're in a city like Charlotte or Atlanta, likely you're going to be near healthcare no matter where you are, even if it's not the main hospital. Like I know here we have all of our outskirts of Pineville and Matthews and cute little areas, but definitely when you think about the beach or the mountains, you can be looking at a significant drive. And it's something to keep in mind. I mean, if you're at the tippy top of a mountain and something happens, how fast can you get down or how fast can somebody get to you?
This was an afterthought. We're recording today from Longview Farms in East Georgia, but I did look at medical care the other day because I
Yeah,
brought
what's close?
I brought my chainsaw out and looking that I want to cut down a tree that I needed to. And I said, well, if I had an accident, where am I going? The good news, bad news, I'm probably 15 minutes away, which is okay. It's not anywhere like I am in the city, to your point, where, I'm 5 minutes away from anything. And if I have to call 911, I'm in good shape. If I called 911 out here, I'm just not sure how to make it. I'd have to drive myself. But to the point is, as you're thinking about downsizing or retirement, in reflection here, close proximity to the kids, grandkids, mobility, single story residence, looking at things that are important like medical care. One of the things I'd like to ask you, and it's not our expertise and it may not be yours, is some places that you move to and when you're ready for relocation, there are tax consequences. Whether it's selling your house or buying your house, are you running into people who are saying, hey, look, I'd like to do a relocation, but I want to pay attention to tax items or tax things?
So I usually refer those questions to their accountant, or if they want a second opinion, I do that. Now I will, I know some general basics and we talk about capital gains and I would look if that's even an issue, the capital gains. And the other one that recently has come up is the widower capital gains. I guess you would call it kind of an exemption where if you've been widowed within 2 years and you're selling your main home, you can qualify as the married status instead of a single to get the $500,000 exemption with a few logistics to it. So again, I can say that, but I'd say, but double check that you qualify and see if how much does it make a difference or not.
And that's so important. In Atlanta area, I've watched a lot of our contemporaries. If they downsize to Cobb County, which is an affluent county or suburb to Atlanta. And they do it because Cobb County cuts your real estate taxes. Specifically, they know that seniors are no longer supporting the public school system, nor should they, in their opinions. The portion of the real estate tax, which is the biggest portion that goes to public school system, is cut in half for people over the age of 65. So as I see our people downsizing, they're like, I'm going to Cobb County because I'm going to save on real estate taxes. And if they leave the city, they're already getting a break on taxes because the suburbs are, by and large, anywhere going to be cheaper than living in the proper city limits of a large urban area like a Charlotte or an Atlanta.
Right. And we do have that in Charlotte. I mean, not for the age that I know of, but you see a lot of people move to Union County because the taxes are cheaper than Mecklenburg County.
And a gorgeous
And
place
they'll
to
be
be at
like
that.
just over the line.
But yeah, just a few feet. So I'm ADD. So let me switch gears. This is the biggest thing I see also of relocation is the family trying to decide, and it's usually mama trying to decide, what do you do with 20 to 40 years of treasure or junk? And I laugh about this because everybody's going through this, and the decision about what you do with everything that you've accumulated. They are treasures and they are junk. I mean, I'm sure this comes up into consideration, and I imagine it can be frustrating as a real estate professional. You've got your parameters, you know what you want to look for, you know the size, and then somebody says, "Well, I've got more stuff than we need more closet space, we need more attic space." I imagine the simple recommendation is let's keep with the game plan, but let's look at mini storage units or pods or different storage mechanisms.
And usually I try to even discourage storage units. And it's funny you say that because even my best friend Caroline works for a storage company, like a storage unit, Morningstar. And I reached out to her the other day thinking I needed a storage unit for all the extra furniture and stuff I have. And she talked me out of it. And that's her job to get people to use them. And she said, Madeline, you don't want to get into that. And I think that's something that really, when you're listing a house for somebody to spend for a long time, you outsource a company to help.
You do.
There are specific companies that can come and work with you to purge your house and decide what to keep and what not to keep.
So a luxurious way of saying it's an estate sale. Others, it's a garage sale, and you can have professionals to do it, or you can try to do it yourself, which I
Well,
recommend not
and
doing.
I would say it's more personal than like an estate sale because these people are also coming. They're not just there to sell your stuff. They're helping you decide what to keep and organizing it and looking at it and saying, do you really need Jimmy's footprint from when he was 2? Okay, yes. So let's put that in a box for Jimmy down the road. Or, your kids are done having kids. So how many, the baby clothes that you've saved all these years that you haven't given them, why haven't you? And then are they stained? What's sentimental? And they really work with the person individually to downsize all of the stuff.
I laugh at that. Your grandmother has saved so many things from our group to your generation in anticipation of you coming along and your sister. And what we found is, to your point, it's maybe rusted, or better yet, OSHA. Baby cribs built in 1971 are just hazards to anybody today relative to the time period. So when you're putting things away with the good intention to say, this is baby Bobby's, he's going to want this one day, or this is something we can have for our grandkids, you need somebody maybe looking over your shoulder to say, nice sentiment, bad idea.
It's really, and the third party helps because they're neutral. They're not attached to it. It's not a child and a mom trying to go through it together. You just have a second opinion. But it's not even all people. I mean, my clients have been in their house for 13 years and just moved yesterday to their new house. And their kids are 13 and 10 and they needed help. So I sent somebody over to help them decide what needed to come and what they could get rid of sentimentally. Like, why have clothes that they wore, they new with tags size 4, like toddler clothes.
That's so brilliant. And so a good professional like you, Madeline, are the people that say, yes, I help buy and sell real estate, but what I'm really doing is helping you add value to everything that's a part of this. And this is looking for resources that you have to make the process easier, because this can be a very traumatic experience, an exciting experience, but it can be very difficult. And the more resources you have, the third party. Oh, wow, what a great idea. You need a third party.
Yes.
For lots of different things. Hey, let me switch gears. Relocation. Some people may be looking to just change their current environment. I can't tell you how many people, and I don't understand this. They're like, retirement for me is a new city. It's the beach, it's the mountains. I've always wanted to be in Santa Fe. I want to move to Mexico. I want to get a golden visa and go to Portugal. That's the latest conversation. But I think the golden visa's got to be too expensive now. So here's the question. Somebody comes to you and say, Madeline, we love Charlotte. We're looking to bug out. Tell me how to go through this process. And they've already given you say, okay, I just want to be in the beach. It's really, for a professional like you, it's probably, I think, the hardest thing you do, because you're trying to narrow down and help them make a really big decisions. What are some tips you would give them if somebody kind of put that platitude or that onus on you to say, we want to go to the beach, help us?
Then like pick what beach or
Walking through the process, do we go buy first? Do you go rent for a week or two? Do you go rent for 6 months? Do you try on a place for somebody who's never been to a city and they say, "We think we would like to go to Palm Beach." And you
then in that case, yeah, if they've never been, I would say go and visit, get an Airbnb for a week.
month,
And we've even
month,
had
2
people
months.
do that Charlotte. I have clients debating Charlotte and Raleigh right now, and they're in their mid 50s. So different age group than I'm in. So me trying to help them decide between Charlotte and Raleigh, I can only do so much. And so it's like, I think you should go get an Airbnb for a week in each. And sometimes the place is so big, you might, or if you're really looking at Florida, plan it out. If you're retired, you've got the time, you can go do 4 weeks, 4 different cities of Airbnbs and see what you like, because you don't know until you're there. And I
You
might
know
like it. I might say, oh, you've got to live at Polly's Island. And somebody else is not going to live at Polly's Island like I love it.
it's amazing. Early in the retirement spy's career, I did real estate consulting in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and they had huge real estate developments that would target neighborhoods in Detroit, in cold places of the world. And it was always baffling to me that there's some places in the country where people will pick up in entire neighborhoods and move to warmer climates. Now, we're
Hmm.
in the warmer climates, living 12 months out of the year in Charlotte or Atlanta is a joy, but I was always amazed. And people would randomly just pick up and say, okay, we're going to move to Hilton Head for retirement without having spent a lot of time there, without having spent several summers with families like we have and experiencing different beaches, but that's just so unusual to me. But and passing no judgment, there still needs to be a process and a thought that goes into that. And I'm sure that your network with Dickens Mixture has tons of people to help with those relocation opportunities.
We have a huge relocation department. I feel like it's one of the largest ones. We work with agents all over, not just the US, but the world. We have agents in different countries, cities, everywhere, you name it. So if you are my client in Charlotte and you're telling me you think you want to be in Florida, you're pretty sure I can find you an agent there. Or, even Barcelona, my neighbors across the street had lived in Barcelona years ago. They decided they sold their house, they moved back to Barcelona.
I love
And
Barcelona. We just got back from Barcelona. I
yeah,
love it
they
there.
love it. They're just living the dream over there. But we also have agents there to help them know what they need.
So this is meant to be a question to help our audience. I can't tell you how many people, when they want to sell a house there, they've been in the house for 30 years and there are things that need to be done. And the answer is, no, I want to sell it as is. I don't want to put money into my house. And I know from the retirement spy having a past in commercial real estate that presentation is everything. And the idea of I'll take a hit on the chin, a reduction in price of my house because I just don't want to fix it up, do it. What are the things that you would advise when somebody says, you've told them I can get you X price, but we need to put some lipstick on this? Or the client that says, you know what, just sell it. Give me the price when I don't have to do anything. Walk us through both of those concepts and what you'd recommend.
So I've done both, and there's pros and cons to both. I think if they're willing to do anything, you try and make it as easy as possible for them. You say, hey, I've got painters. Can I just have them come give you a quote to paint all of these rooms or these areas? And say, I have an electrician. Maybe we switch out one or two of these light fixtures, like the really old ones. And I try and give them like the price. Or because sometimes they don't want to do a big renovation and they don't realize it could just be small things. I'm not going to necessarily say, okay, let's blow out your bathroom and put it $80,000. But if they can see the math and see the low effort, sometimes that will help them. You say, listen, it's going to cost you $10,000 to do all of this, but I promise, not promise, I really think you're going to get like your money back more than double. It'll show better. It'll sell quicker. You're going to get more money in the long run for a little bit of work and inconvenience.
I think that's the biggest difference I've seen is a lot of people, when they buy a house, don't have the creativity to look at how a house can change or how new paint can make all the difference in the world. And so when you're doing a great job that you do for your clients, you're trying to paint a picture to make it easier for people walking into a house to buy it faster. And there's nothing worse than having a listing for both you as an agent or for a seller that the house is staying on the market for 8 months when everything else is moving to 3 and they're saying, what's the problem? And I know you would say, all we need to do is kind of dress it up a little bit for those who don't have the vision. that others do so that can move faster. And time is money.
Exactly. And that's where I think there's a lot of misconceptions about how much you have to do to get your house ready. Some people think you have to do more than you actually do. Some people don't think you have to do much at all. But you don't even understand, like, I have a listing coming out this week, and thankfully they are dream clients who have let me do whatever I want. They've painted the entire house, changed light fixtures, and tomorrow we're ripping out all of their carpet upstairs and replacing it because I essentially said, people, you have a great house, you're in a great area, but they're going to come in and they're going to see this carpet. And in their mind, it's just adding more money to something they have to do. Y'all have already moved. You will have been moved out. You'll be in your new house. I've got a carpet girl. She gave them a great price and done. So just so much easier. And I know that it's going to show so much better than if they didn't change the carpet.
Well, and simple things that are going to happen. A negotiator is going to come in and look at the price of the house that you have listed, and they'll say, look, our inspector found that the air conditioning is bugged out. It's no good anymore. So we're going to ding you on the price. A lot of things you just know you're going to have to do, or at least you're going to acknowledge to say the roof is 25 years old and I know I'm going to take a hit. So the $1 million I have listed for the price, I'm fully going to expect that they're going to come back and say, you need a new roof, so I want a discount. And as long as and I know you're giving them great advice like that, those are going to make a difference. Other things are really, it's more the way you look at it. I guess you want to paint was a great recommendation. Paint makes all the difference in the world, but you want to take away some of the things like rotted wood or other deferred maintenance that when you walk around, you see it. And it's not a new design element. It's rotted windowsills. It's things that we'll notice when people look at it, and it's going to come up either in a price discount or a slow sale because people just saying like, heck, I don't want to get involved with that.
Well, you want the house to look like it's well maintained in all areas too. So if you come into a house, even if it's just kind of dirty, you feel like nobody's cared for it. What else have they not cared about? So it's about making it seem cared for and checking all of those big things off. Even a simple thing that came up was if you don't, a lot of people, like lamps now, not overheads. So if you have an overhead light in your room and it doesn't work and it just never bothered you because you don't use it, we're going to need to get that looked at before we list, because somebody's going to come in and be like, the light doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? And it's not just a burned bulb, like there's something wrong. And then it's going to just lead to, well, what else could be wrong? What else did they not look into? And
I
just
imagine
fixing
most people, especially with the houses you're dealing with now, I imagine everybody's bringing a home inspector in. So it's not
Mhm.
like you're going to mask something that they're not going to find. So if there's something behind the walls, so to speak, the inspectors are going to find it. And I think the best recommendation I heard from somebody, and I know you give this to your clients, is to say, before we sell this house, why don't we do our own home inspection so we can see what someone else is going to find, so we'll be aware of it, either for the price discount or some things that we might want to go ahead and fix now. And that sounds to be costly, but I don't think it's a few $100s, maybe $1,000 or two, to get a home inspector to come in and say, take a look from a buyer's perspective, what my house looks like, what they're going to flag, and what it costs. So now you've got a list of things that you're ready for.
So in North Carolina, I think every state's a little well, I guess it might be more of a national rule. I feel like it's one of those trends. We'll go in a phase of having a lot of people do, like for a long time, you'll see people do the pre-buyer, and then there'll be a time where like nobody's doing it. The
Pre-buyer
issue
meaning
with
the
doing like
pre-inspection? Tell
the
me what you said.
pre-inspection.
Okay, right.
Yes, not doing pre-inspections. Everyone should do an inspection when they're in their due diligence under contract. But if you do a pre-inspection and certain things are found, you have to disclose them, which
That's
you would
right.
think you would want to do anyway to be trustworthy. And it's my duty as an agent. I fully want to disclose everything I can. But some buyers will balk at that and they'll say, well, I got the report done for myself. I don't want to give it to the interested client. And
I
it's
think you're
like, well,
right.
I know it exists, so you have to.
No, I think you're right. I think when you say it's a national policy, national rule, I think it's an agency, a real estate agency, to say, if you do this and you've given me the report, I now have knowledge of things that I have to disclose. Thank you. What a great education right there, because that's something you probably should do. But once again, ignorance is bliss, maybe. So you have to be careful what you do with that.
It does. And it happens to a lot of agents. I mean, it's happened to me where they told me they got one done and then they shared it with me and they got mad that I had to disclose what was found. I just was like, but it's the right thing to do. Wouldn't you want me to do this for you on the other side?
Yes, that's hard.
So It is.
Question, what stays in the house nowadays? I know a lot of people are very sentimental and
Yes.
there's chandeliers, there's draperies, there's appliances. What is considered standard today that is when I walk into a house, what stays and what goes, or is it all based on your disclosure statements?
So generally, and this can get really sticky if people are not reading a contract or writing it into a contract. Anything that stays is a fixture. So you basically, if you took the house and dump it upside down, what stays? Like what's going to be attached. So your fridge can fall out. That's not a fixture, but your oven is built in. So it stays. Your washer and dryer are not considered fixtures. They can be written in. They're usually written in to leave. Just depends. Sometimes people want to take them. Some are happy to leave them. Some want to put in a value for them. Curtains, a lot of times, so you have to leave the drapery rods, but you don't have to leave the curtains unless somebody asks and you want to. The chandelier point. So if you're downsizing and you have this beautiful family chandelier, like my parents did, go ahead and take it down before you list it and put something else up so that they know that that's not included. Now, you can write it in as an exception. You can put a tag on it and you can put it in the notes and say, chandelier does not convey. It's an exception. When we move out, we'll replace it with something of this value. But
That
that just
makes
gets a little
sense.
tricky.
And so
So,
for us, for the guys on the call, if you've got your big built-in grill out the back with your big green egg or your attached gas line, that's probably looking to stay.
yes, it all stays. Like if you have a beautiful outdoor kitchen, you put your big green egg in there. And the black stones are different. Like they're freestanding. They can go with you, but if you've built it in, it stays. The other one that we see a lot of that is not really a fixture, but becomes a moving problem is gun safes, because sometimes people have them like down in the basement and they're really heavy and they don't actually, people selling the house don't want to do the trouble of moving it out. They're like, I'll just buy a new one that includes delivery. So then they tell the people that are buying the house, hey, guess what? We're just going to leave that for you, whether you want it or not.
You know, and
And then sometimes there'll be an argument of, I don't want this gun safe. You have to get it out of here. And then it can be a thing. But those are the other ones. And the other thing that's been hard is all the new workout equipment. That can go if you have a gym, the mirrors stay in the gym wall. But if you've got, I think it's one of those like TRX systems that's on the wall, there's always something new. Like there's that workout mirror that we've had to make a lot of exceptions for. TVs
question.
now that you're mounted. So the TV can go with you, but the mount for the TV has to stay.
That's right. Question, yard art. We encountered a transaction one time where people actually had installations, and these are multi-million-dollar homes, but you have yard art that's been installed in a beautifully landscaped yard. I guess this is a topic of discussion because you could have priceless works of art and you're like, well, no, we're going to take those with us. Like, well, no, you embedded it in concrete in the middle of your garden, and I love gardens, and that's why I bought it. This is handled through, I'm sure, appendixes to contracts and full disclosures. But is there an argument if somebody says, no, you didn't mark that?
It really would depend on what the contract says if they didn't do it ahead of time. Similarly, there was a beautiful home, multi-million-dollar house I sold in Myers Park, and they had these sculptures on the wall. And technically, they are attached to the wall, so they could have stayed. However, and they were flexible. They really wanted them, the sellers, and my buyers did not care. They were going to rip them out anyways. So we wrote it in there. So it was very clear, though, that they could take them, but then they needed to repair the wall afterwards. So
Question.
it would
I'm sorry,
have
go
to be
ahead.
decided ahead of time, really.
So question, this is a bugaboo item for me because in my world, in my past, in commercial real estate, this came up all the time. There's the notion of the trade-off between a properly priced piece of real estate and an overpriced piece of real estate. And depending on a buyer's or a seller's market, I'm sure you give clients a proper range to say, I think your house can sell between blank and blank. And one is going to sit on the market a little bit longer, and one's going to move pretty quickly. And this is under the guidance that you would give to say, let's put paint on it. Let's do the things that we need to do. Tell me, just walk through as an agent for a seller when they say, here's the range of prices. And they say, look, I'll hold out, for a year to sell this thing at a higher price versus moving it right now at the properly priced house. And at this frustrating point as agents have, but talk to me about that and what your thoughts
Yes.
are.
Well, I think ultimately, and there are studies that show this, if you start out too high, usually you ultimately sell for less than what you could have if you priced right from the beginning.
Sometimes you'll scare the market off, won't you? If it's overpriced and it doesn't fit the neighborhood because it's overpriced, and people won't come back twice. If they've come once and it's so high, they just get standoffish and it gets to be a stale listing, I guess.
Yes. So if it's too high and it just starts sitting and they have this attitude, and like a lot of times I will say agents will put something in our agreements with our clients that if it hasn't received any showings or an offer after a certain time, you give us the permission to lower the price so that we don't get into these. It kind of helps them be like, okay, we're going to try it your way, but then you're going to try it my way.
But there's a stigma that goes with it, though. I'm thinking we're
Oh,
out
it
here at Long
definitely. They think something's wrong with it.
there's Longview Farms. There's been a farm on the way. I pass it by every time we come out to the farm, and it's been on the market for 5 years. And I've looked at what the price is, and I've looked at it, and I'm sure the seller has a price in their mind, and they're not going to budge. But after 5 years, everybody is just looking, going, "There's something wrong here. Is it haunted? What's going
Yeah.
on?"
No, definitely. And then I think about it too. I mean, they probably don't need to sell it. So if they're like, fine, we'll just let it sit, but they don't realize they're going to hurt themselves in the long run. And then you have the people too that they're selling their primary home and they've priced it too high, but they're already bought something else thinking this would sell quickly. So then they're paying 2 mortgages and they're wasting their money. Whereas if they just priced it right to begin with, it could have sold. And now they're like, well, why'd I just spend? I had 2 mortgages for 2 months or 3 months. I'm like, because you didn't listen to the price and the feedback. But I will say too, it can be hard to nail that price. Sometimes it's really tricky in the neighborhoods and market. It really depends on the neighborhood and market. Some it's a no brainer that that's too high. Some it's like, oh, okay, I see where they got that number, but it's the wrong time of year.
A great point. Spring and summer sells, right? Winter, everybody's kind of gone into
So
hibernation with that
not even
microphone.
summer's pretty slow here. So really for us, fall, like right now is a big week, but the end of it, like December, you don't want to be listing and they'll sit but really spring and fall. But if you've got a listing that comes up in July, and I ran into this past summer, came up in July and my clients really liked it, but they didn't like the price. And the agent told me, she goes, well, you've seen the comps. I said, I know, but we're in July. We're not at last spring.
Yeah.
Like we're not in the height of the spring market when other houses were selling for way over. So we just sat and waited and we got it for less
Well, and school
because of the
season is
timing.
a big part. Everywhere is school season. So when you're a corporate relocation, you get notice in spring and summer and fall. Sometimes you're scrambling because you just got the ideal job. You're relocating your family and school's starting and you need to move
Hmm.
and you need to move fast. So there's a season for all these things, right?
Yes.
Question. I hated this way back in my day when I was a commercial real estate broker 250 years ago. Everyone has a friend in the real estate business with a real estate license. There's nothing more frustrating than having somebody say, "Hey, I'm picking my friend, my buddy to list the house." And they may not be the most qualified person to do it. I think everybody loses on that. Tell me your thoughts magnanimously about why that may or may not be a good idea to take your friend.
So yes, this is a really interesting one because it always happens. And I remember early on, somebody I thought that would definitely hire me did not. And we talked at our firm about it. She's like, it's going to happen a lot, Madeline, where you're going to think a friend's going to hire you and they're not. They've got another friend or another family member and it's all good. And so I do think thinking about hiring a friend, as I've actually have helped some friends this year, but you have to think like, I don't want to say how good are they at their job, but yeah, a lot of people have their license, but they do it part-time. I think my friends using me were able to trust me because this is my full-time job. They see it. They've watched me grow. They've watched me grow every year and they've seen how hard I work. Like I've set an example so that my friends, they don't see me slacking off. I will not go to dinner if I have something come up with a client. So I've proven myself to my friends, but you also want to make sure you have a very solid friendship and comfortable relationship because it can be tough. Like you're talking about somebody's biggest purchase. You're talking money and money can get really awkward and feelings and emotions come into play. So luckily with the friends I've helped this year, it's been great, but it is nerve-wracking helping them. And then it's also frustrating to see somebody who just got their license for no reason, but to do it for a friend here and there. And then your friend complains to you like, oh, they didn't do this for me or they don't do that. Or, oh my gosh, like you do this for your client. Mine did it. I'm like, well,
Well, the
you could have asked.
expertise And the smallest things make the difference. It can be your years of living in Charlotte in the
Yeah.
Myers Park area saying, let me tell you, you're about to buy in a neighborhood. The school system is okay, but the school system has been dropping and there's changes going on. And when you're an experienced agent walking the path every day, you see where the future is, you see where the past is, and you can see how things are changing. And it may be a beautiful home that the clients want to have, but it may not be in the best area in 10 years from now. They're like, you really wish you wouldn't have bought that. And that's where the
Yeah.
expertise comes in.
And the day in and day out, like the questions that you've asked, talking about fixtures, they may not have experienced custom art in the yard and they don't know what to do because they've done this part time. Yes, they've been doing it for a few years, but it's part time. They maybe do a house or two houses a year. And then building the relationships with other agents, I think is also really important. They get to know you. They like to work with you. They're happy to have you show their houses and vice versa. For me, it's been fun too. The agents I worked with this year, one of them I actually have two transactions with. One is just one other. They're old school Charlotte. They knew my dad.
That's so fun.
I loved my dad.
Those inner circle connections make all the difference in the world. And I hate to say it, but it really does. Let me jump to the next thing that I think is important. And I want the audience to listen to this. I think there's a huge importance with a buyer broker. Now, most people think sometimes maybe of seller agents, fiduciaries to the seller, you're selling a house. When you're in a tough market, let's just say it's a seller's market, a buyer's agent is worth their weight in gold. Tell me about what a buyer's agent is, a buyer broker, and what the value is.
Oh gosh, it's a lot. So really, I mean, if you're moving in from a different area, you could be with them for days showing houses all over an area because they're not used to the area. Or you could have a client who really, they have to have Beverly Woods and Charlotte. They know that that's the neighborhood they want to be in, but this is their budget. And you know that that's going to be a hard to come by house. So then you work behind the scenes a lot. You're calling agents that list in that area often. You're reaching out to your own firm constantly saying, does anybody have anything coming for these clients? Can I see it early? What do you have? Please keep me in mind. And you're just constantly reminding people that you have somebody looking. So it's not just looking what's out there right now. It's what's coming. What can you maybe find off market through word of mouth?
I
And
think
then
people,
also, no, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I was thinking disintermediation with all the information available on the web today. I think people feel they can be their own real estate experts. You know, you go to Zillow, you go to online listing service, the MLS, and you can find your own home. But it's not just about finding the home. There's so many things that will be missed if you're not getting help professionally. It's not just finding the right home, but to your point, they're buying a home and what they really wanted was a house across the street. Well, you know that house is about ready to come off across the street because somebody got divorced, somebody had a death. There's a reason that house is going to sell. And that's the inner circle that you're talking about and knowing a market and being experienced.
And also negotiating the price. Sometimes it's not even about getting necessarily a lower price, but you have to teach your client, like, no, it really is worth this. I know you don't think it's a $1.5 million house. That's okay. Then maybe it's not the house for you, but I'm telling you, somebody else is going to actually come in and probably pay 1.6. And we see that when houses are priced really well and aggressively in the hot areas. And you just have to tell you, I'm like, if an agent selling a house gets 15 offers and there's some from unrepresented buyers, or unless they're like insanely well done, they're probably not even getting that much consideration. Because a lot of times the unrepresented buyers, they can't even fill out the contract properly. So then that selling agent knows they're going to really have to hold their hand and help them. And they just think like, well, we're doing it at a discount, like a better price. And it just doesn't always really transact that way. Like it doesn't make sense for even a listing agent. The listing agent usually wants to work with a buyer's agent because if they don't, the listing agent's doing all the work basically for both sides. And I just think it's so important to have that representation of helping you with the price, helping you write in things like if you see it and I need them to leave all these curtains, I'll tell you if we can do that or not, or I'll try to do it for you. I'll go to bat for you. If we get to repairs, it's so hard to negotiate repairs to begin with. So not having your license and knowing what you can get or who to call for quotes. I mean, half the time it's just, I feel like for me, it's getting people out there to give me quotes. It's who you know, who can I get a painter there? Can I get my electrician there? My handyman, my general contractor? I need a structural engineer. And I can get a team of 10 people out all in one afternoon. But also I use them well enough so they'll do me favors. If they need to reschedule things, I mean, they'll come because I need them. Other buyers, you don't necessarily have all those resources.
You know, simply put, and I said this to somebody else one time, you're the president of the ABC widget company, or your wife is running the transaction for the family. and you think you want to take on the real estate role to be your own buyer's broker to do what you can because you've negotiated before, you've got better things to do. You're already running your family. You're already running a widget company. And the idea that you're going to come in with some expertise is kind of insane. And what I laugh about is I'm listening to a story I heard when somebody said, this is a seller's market. We wanted this house and we came in and the list price was $1 million and we bid $1 million and it went for $1.5 million. Well, guess what? A good buyer's agent will say, here's what's going on. Here's where the price is going to be. And if you want to pay, it's not just getting the right price. You're going to come in with an all cash purchase or a 30-day close or a 12-day close, or you'll have something else that'll give you the edge in a competitive market that you would never have known otherwise because you've been running a family or you're running the widget company as the president. You've got better things to do with your time. You really do.
And it really, people think that your offer is all about the offer price. And I even tell my friends and clients this too. I'm like, guys, it's not just the offer price. It is not. We're going to put in due diligence money. We're going to put in earnest money. Do they want a 14-day due diligence period? Do we want to say we won't ask for any repairs? Do we want to close in 30 days? Do they need 60 days to close? Do they want to stay? There are so many factors, and you have to think creatively, especially when they're getting 10 offers.
I can't imagine living in San Francisco. My friends that are out there, when a house goes to the market, it doesn't go for anything close to what's going to resemble the sales price. It's a starting point. And so you've got a $5 million, townhome down in Haight-Ashbury, and it's all of a sudden it's a $5 million price. And then it ends up trading for 7. You're like, what happened here? San
I
Francisco
know.
is just kind of crazy. And if you didn't have a buyer's broker, I can't even imagine beginning to transact in a city like that.
No, I mean,
Question.
you'd be lost. And same here. I mean, there's little pockets in neighborhoods that may be really kind of unassuming, and you don't realize why somebody's paying so much. And you're like, oh, this is a great deal. I'm like, it's definitely going to go for way more. They set this up for
Question.
a bidding.
Some people may not be ready to sell, and I've seen this, and help us understand if there's a market for this or a great way to do this. Someone says, okay, I've just retired, and they are ready to travel. I see them all the time now. They're not ready to sell the house because there are major decisions to be made, and they'll say, hey, Madeline, I think I might want to list my house, but maybe next year. We want to rent our house for a year or two and we want to go live in Barcelona, Spain. Is there a market to put your house on the market while you travel and try to decide what it is that you really want to do?
Yes, we actually have a lot. There's constantly a need for rentals in Charlotte, and especially for high end ones, whether furnished or unfurnished, for people that are renovating or building their next house. They need somewhere to go. They might not want to be in an apartment, or they're relocating to Charlotte for a job and they haven't decided where they want to live yet. So I don't manage the rentals, but we always have people looking. And so I go to our relocation department and I say, hey, I've got a client. They've got this amazing house, 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, has a pool. They want to rent it. Can you help me? And then we put it out in our database and word of mouth. And then if necessary, find you a property management company to work with. But it's definitely doable and there is a need for it, which
We
is a
just got
great
back
thing if you don't want to move yet.
got back from a cruise and actually met a couple who was spending a year cruising. And it was interesting because it came out at the same time as a Wall Street Journal article that was suggesting that full-time cruising, meaning 360 days a year, actually may be more cost beneficial than having a relocation to a beach home in Florida and all the maintenance that goes with it. It was an interesting contrast. I'm not sure I want to do cruising 360 days out of the year, but interesting concept to put your house on the market, let it rent for a year or two while you go somewhere else for an immersion vacation and find out really where you want to live for the rest of your life. Barcelona, Palm Beach, next to the grandkids, and try it on before you get rid of your main house.
Yes. And I think that, to your point too, a good agent, or not just good, somebody who really knows what they're doing will help you with that, instead of just being like, well, no, just call me when you want to list it. I'm like, no, I'll help you with this because I know when you're ready to list, you're going to come back to me because I've helped you. And it's just part of the job. It might not be my normal job description to rent somebody's house, but it's all part of the package. I mean, I've helped people when I first started out. I helped people find rentals and started learning different areas. And then I know when they're done renting and they're ready to buy, they're coming back to me. And I just think it's a great opportunity to build that relationship. And also, I mean, I think that'd be great because I wouldn't want to sell. I can imagine I'd be one of those people that doesn't want to sell my house yet when I'm older, just being sentimental. But if you're gone for a year and then you come back a little separated, you can say, okay, actually, I can live in something smaller. I don't need all of that stuff I had. I could do
Or,
this.
or I really do want to live in Tuscany because I found a great villa and we were there for a year and I'm ready to go. And Madeline
Yes.
put this thing on the market and I'm out of here. Alan, you've been such a great, great podcast guest today. Tell our audience, for those who might want to know more about your expertise, how to find out more about you, where to find you, so our audience can dial you up.
Thank you. Well, so as Duncan said, I'm at Dickens Mitchner in Charlotte, North Carolina. So you can email me, Madeline@dickensmitchner.com, or find me on Instagram, and my handle is at MadelineHughes.homes. Look me up on our website. I think I'm also on Facebook. So really just put Madeline Hughes, Dickens Mitchner, and you'll find me, and happy to answer any questions or help. Any
What a wonderful time. Thank you so much for your help. And always, if you've enjoyed this podcast at The Retirement Spy, you can always hit subscribe at the bottom of our YouTube or subscribe on all of our major podcast network. And thank you for being a part of The Retirement Spy today. Madeline, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.